The cool air of an early autumn evening wrapped around Aurella like a familiar shawl, carrying the scent of damp earth and the distant pine. Her light-colored dress, woven from fine, airy linen, flowed around her ankles as she walked along the edge of the moon-petal lake. A subtle decorative belt cinched her waist, a small touch of elegance in her otherwise simple existence. Her long, wavy brown hair, usually unbound, drifted in the gentle breeze, catching the last whispers of the fading light. Aurella was an omega, her nature gentle and empathetic, her heart a wellspring of quiet affection. She had often dreamt of a love that would sweep her away, a connection that spoke to the deepest parts of her soul. Tonight, however, a soft melancholy settled upon her. The lake's dark, blurred surface mirrored the encroaching twilight, and the trees on its banks stood as silent sentinels, their leaves beginning to turn to hues of amber and rust. She yearned for a mate, a protector, a loving presence to share the quiet beauty of the world with. She longed to nurture, to be cherished, to finally find her place. Lost in her thoughts, she almost missed it. A low whimper, thin and fragile, sliced through the evening calm. Aurella paused, her heart giving a little flutter of alarm. It came again, closer this time, from a dense thicket near the water's edge. Her omega instincts, typically geared towards peace and comfort, flared with an unfamiliar urgency. She pushed through the rustling leaves and gasping branches, her gaze scanning the shadows. There, huddled beneath a gnarled root, was a wolf cub. Its fur was a mottled gray and brown, wet and matted, and it shivered uncontrollably. But it was not the cold that made it tremble. A larger, dark shadow detached itself from the deeper woods, eyes glinting with predatory hunger. Not a wolf, but something wilder, a rogue beast with teeth bared and a snarl tearing through its throat. It fixated on the whimpering cub. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced Aurella, but it was quickly overshadowed by a fierce, unexpected surge of protectiveness. The cub was so small, so innocent. Her omega nature, despite its gentle front, held a surprising core of resilience when faced with vulnerability. She could not, would not let it come to harm. Without a moment's hesitation, Aurella flung herself forward. Her light dress caught on thorns, tearing slightly as she moved. With a desperate cry, she threw her body between the snarling predator and the terrified cub. The rogue beast, surprised by this sudden frail obstruction, paused for a split second. That was all Aurella needed. She used her last ounce of strength, a reserve she did not even know she possessed, to shove the cub deeper into the roots, shielding it with her own body. The beast, enraged by its thwarted hunt, retaliated instantly. It lunged, not directly at her throat, but catching her with a brutal swipe across her side and shoulder. A searing pain exploded through Aurella, followed by a rush of warmth as blood bloomed across her light dress. A choked gasp escaped her lips. The world tilted and blurred. Her strength ebbed away rapidly, her legs giving out. She collapsed, her body a shield, her arms still wrapped protectively around the cub, which now whined softly beneath her. The rogue animal, perhaps deterred by the sudden human presence, or sensing the cub was no longer an easy meal, let out a frustrated growl and melted back into the shadows. Aurella lay still, the pulsing pain a dull roar in her ears. Her breath came in shallow, ragged gasps. She felt cold, then strangely warm as the blood spread. Her vision dimmed, the dark lake and the trees dissolving into a swirling abyss. She closed her eyes, her face soft even in unconsciousness. A hint of makeup on her lips and eyelids, the last testament to her earlier, peaceful evening. Her long, wavy brown hair fanned out around her, mixing with the damp earth and her own lifeblood. The last thing she registered was the faint, comforting warmth of the small cub pressed against her side. She had saved him. That thought, a small victory, was her final conscious comfort. Far deeper in the ancient forest, Aldous, the Alpha King, felt a tremor run through his powerful form. He was in his wolf shape, a magnificent creature whose fur was a blend of gray, white, and brown, thick and textured, perfectly adapted to the wilderness he ruled. He had been tracking a scent for hours, a small, errant pup from his pack, one known for its adventurous spirit, but also for its tendency to wander too far. A knot of unease had tightened in his chest with each passing moment. Suddenly, a new scent hit him, sharp and alarming. Fresh blood, but not just any blood. It was mixed with an intoxicating, rich aroma, an omega scent so pure, so compelling, it made his primal instincts roar with a recognition he had never experienced. An omega in danger, his pup in danger. X, now playing. X video of the ultimate free AI tool for programmers, Kodo AI. The ultimate free AI tool for programmers, Kodo AI. Watch on. Video channel logo. The ultimate free AI tool for programmers, Kodo AI. He moved like a shadow, a blur of fur and muscle, tearing through the undergrowth, his powerful paws barely disturbing the forest floor. The scents grew stronger, more potent, pulling him towards the Moonpetal Lake. He burst through the final line of trees, his wolf eyes scanning the scene, his heart, a drum against his ribs, nearly stopped. There, by the dark water, lay a woman. Her light dress was stained crimson, her long brown hair fanned out around her pale face. Her eyes were closed, her features soft, almost ethereal, and beneath her, nestled safe and sound, was the lost cub, whimpering softly now, but unharmed. Her body had been a shield. A guttural growl rumbled deep in Aldous' chest, a sound of fury and profound, unexpected grief. She was gravely injured. He could smell the lingering scent of another aggressive predator, but that beast was gone. Only the scent of her life force, rapidly fading, filled the air. He nudged the cub gently with his snout, confirming its safety, then turned his attention fully to her. The omega scent, mixed with her blood, was overwhelming now, sparking a possessive fire within him. This woman, this fragile human, had risked everything for his kin. For his pup, a powerful, undeniable sense of responsibility, of connection, bloomed in his chest. With a deep, shuddering breath, Aldous began to shift. His muscles rippled and writhed beneath his thick fur, bones stretching and reforming. His large head shrank, his snout receded, and his powerful paws transformed into human hands. In moments, the Alpha King stood beside Orella, tall and imposing, his raw power radiating around him, yet his touch was surprisingly gentle as he knelt. He reached for her, his large hands careful not to jostle her injured side. He could see the deep gashes, still oozing blood. This was not a wound she could walk away from, not alone. He swept her into his arms, cradling her against his chest. Her head lolled, her soft hair brushing his chin. The touch sent a jolt through him, a lightning strike of an unfamiliar emotion. Her scent, now mixed with his own, was a heady mix that stirred something ancient and profound within him. The cub, startled for a moment by the sudden shift, quickly trotted to Aldous' feet, nudging his leg, then looking up at the still form of the woman in his arms. It let out a soft whine. "She saved you, little one," Aldous murmured, his voice a low rumble, devoid of its usual royal command, filled instead with a tenderness that surprised even himself. "And now I will save her." He turned, the unconscious Novella-Lite in his powerful arms, and began to move swiftly through the darkening woods, the cub trailing faithfully behind. His focus was singular, his determination absolute. He would bring her back. He would heal her. This woman, who had used her last strength to protect his, now held a claim on his very soul. The journey back to Aldous' hidden den, a place carved into the mountainside and known only to his closest pack, was a blur of focused adrenaline. He moved with the speed and silence of his wolf form, even as a man, his every step precise. The cub, surprisingly agile for its size, kept pace. Once inside the warm firelit cavern, Aldous gently laid Orella on a bed of furs near the hearth. The cub immediately curled up beside her, pressing its small body against her side as if to offer comfort. Aldous's skilled hands, accustomed to binding wounds in battle, now worked with a remarkable delicacy. He carefully peeled back the torn fabric of her dress, revealing the angry gashes. He cleaned them with medicinal herbs and water from a small spring within the den, his brow furrowed in concentration. As he worked, her omega scent, sweet and potent, filled the space. It was a dizzying aroma, one that resonated with the very core of his alpha being, stirring a yearning he had suppressed for centuries. He found himself studying her face in the flickering firelight, the delicate curve of her jaw, the slight pout of her lips, the long fringe of her lashes against her pale skin. She was breathtakingly beautiful, even in her injured state. Hours later, the wounds were cleaned, stitched expertly, and bound with fresh linen. Aldous sat beside her, watching her shallow breaths, the cub still a warm weight against her. He felt an intense protectiveness, a fierce refusal to let her fade. He touched her forehead, brushing back a stray lock of brown hair. Her skin was cool, but not alarmingly so. She was holding on. The next morning, the first pale light filtered into the den. Orella stirred, a soft groan escaping her lips. Her eyelids fluttered, then slowly lifted. The world swam into focus, a blur of warm light and unfamiliar stone. Her eyes, a beautiful hazel, widened slightly, then narrowed as they adjusted. Her gaze first fell upon the cub, nestled against her, its small chest rising and falling in sleep. A wave of relief, potent and pure, washed over her. He was safe. Then her eyes drifted upwards. Aldous sat by her side, a tall, imposing figure, yet his gaze was surprisingly gentle. His mixed gray and brown hair fell across his strong brow, and his eyes, the color of ancient forest depths, held a watchful intensity. He was not in wolf form, but his alpha presence was palpable, filling the small space. "You are awake." His voice was a low, resonant rumble, a sound that vibrated through her, calming some of her lingering anxiety. Orella tried to sit up, but a sharp pain shot through her side, making her gasp. "Nay, rest," Aldous said, his hand coming to rest lightly on her shoulder, a touch that was both firm and incredibly tender. "You are gravely injured. Do not move." He brought a cup of clear water to her lips, helping her sip slowly. The cool liquid soothed her dry throat. How did I get here?" she whispered, her voice reedy. "I found you by the lake," he explained, his gaze unwavering. "You were shielding the cub. You saved him." He paused, then added, his voice laced with a profound gratitude. "He is my cub, from my pack." Orella's eyes widened further. This magnificent man, this alpha, was the cub's protector, and he had rescued her. Her heart, already weakened by injury, fluttered with a new, unfamiliar sensation. A deep sense of gratitude, yes, but also a burgeoning warmth, a sense of belonging she had always longed for. She felt safe, utterly and completely safe, under his watchful gaze. Over the next few days, Aldous rarely left her side. He brought her broth, made from wild game and healing herbs, spoon-feeding her with infinite patience. He changed her bandages, his large hands surprisingly deft, never flinching from the sight of her wounds. He spoke to her in low tones, telling her about his pack, the challenges of leading it, the beauty of the forest. He never pressed her for information, sensing her need for peace. Orella, in turn, found herself opening up to him. She spoke of her simple life, her quiet longings, the solitary nature of her omega existence. He listened intently, his eyes always on her, his presence a comforting anchor. She learned his name was Aldous, and that he was indeed the Alpha King, a fact that would have intimidated her before, but now only deepened her respect and admiration. The cub, whom Aldous called Finn, was a constant presence, curling up against her, purring softly. He was a constant reminder of the selfless act that had brought them together, a living bridge between a gentle Omega and a powerful Alpha King. Aldous' scent, a mix of pine, earth, and pure alpha strength, wrapped around her, filling the den, becoming as essential as the air she breathed. Her heart would race whenever he drew near, a delightful nervousness mixed with a deep, calming sense of rightness. She found herself watching him, admiring the strong line of his jaw, the quiet power in his movements. She was drawn to him not just because he had saved her, but because of the gentle strength she saw beneath his stern exterior, the loneliness that sometimes flickered in his dark eyes. He was a king, yes, but also a man burdened by responsibility, yet capable of immense tenderness. One evening, as twilight painted the sky in shades of violet and rose, Aldous sat beside her, applying fresh salve to her healing wounds. His fingers, warm and strong, brushed her skin, sending shivers through her. She gasped, not from pain, but from the sudden intensity of the sensation. He paused, his gaze meeting hers, questions in his eyes. "Does it hurt, little Omega?" he asked, his voice rough with concern. Orella shook her head, unable to speak, her throat tight, her breath caught in her chest. The connection between them, a silent current, hummed with undeniable energy. The air was thick with their mingled scents, her sweet Omega warmth, his potent Alpha command, intertwining, creating a heady aroma that spoke of fated bonds. He leaned closer, his eyes searching hers. "You feel it too, do you not, Orella?" he murmured, his voice a silken whisper that caressed her name. This pull, this recognition. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat. She had never felt anything like it. It was a hunger, a deep, abiding ache for something she hadn't even realized she was missing until now. It wasn't just physical, it was an emotional resonance, a spiritual mirroring that had taken root in the most dangerous of circumstances. She nodded, tears pricking her eyes. Aldous," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I feel it. I cannot deny it." His gaze dropped to her lips, lingering there, then swept back to her eyes. Slowly, he leaned in, his breath warm upon her face, carrying the scent of wild forest and alpha. He didn't rush, allowing her every moment to retreat, but she held firm, leaning subtly into his approach. His lips, firm yet tender, met hers. It was a soft, chaste kiss at first, full of hesitant wonder and unspoken promise. But as their lips molded together, a spark ignited, a gentle fire that spread through Orella's veins, chasing away all the lingering pain and doubt. It was the kiss of a fated mate, a recognition that transcended words, a bond forged in danger and sealed with care. When he finally pulled back, resting his forehead against hers, their breaths mingled, ragged and sweet. "Orella," he rasped, his eyes dark with emotion. "When I found you, bleeding, protecting Finn, my world shifted. I knew somehow that you were meant to be mine. My heart, my soul recognized you." Her own Omega instincts hummed with delight, a feeling of coming home. "And I," she confessed, her hands instinctively reaching for his strong neck, tracing the line of his jaw. "I have longed for this, Aldous, for a love that sees beyond my gentle nature, that embraces my heart." He smiled then, a rare, breathtaking sight that softened the stern lines of his face. He kissed her again, this time with a deeper yearning, a promise of a future that felt both ancient and brand new. The embrace was tender, reverent, honoring the emotional journey they had taken. It was not overtly physical, but the quiet passion in his touch, the way their bodies naturally fit together, spoke volumes of the physical intimacy that would surely follow once her injuries were fully healed, once their bond had truly deepened. From that day forward, Orella healed not only in body but in spirit. She blossomed under Aldous' unwavering love and protection, The pack, initially curious about the Omega Queen discovered by their Alpha King, quickly accepted her, recognizing the strength and courage she possessed and the deep, undeniable bond that blossomed between their leader and the woman who had saved his cub. Orella, the gentle Omega who had once longed for love, found her destiny by the edge of a dark lake, bleeding and broken, only to be lifted into the arms of the Alpha King. She became his queen, her soft hands now guiding his, her gentle heart a source of fierce strength for his pack. Aldous, the solitary Alpha King, found his forever mate in the most unexpected sacrifice, realizing that true power lay not just in strength, but in the boundless compassion of a loving heart. Their story, begun in peril and sealed with a kiss, was only just beginning, a testament to the enduring magic of a love found against all odds.